a lot of the clients I work with are really, really wealthy. I'm not talking like private jet wealthy, like,
Hmm.
right? Like really, really wealthy. And what you realize is that like wealth doesn't equal freedom.
Hmm.
Wealth is part of free. Like you need a certain amount of money to be able to not necessarily have to show up someplace to make ends meet kind of thing. But it doesn't 100% equal freedom. Freedom is a mindset that you have to really cultivate in yourself and allow yourself freedom. Um, and also getting really clear on what makes you feel free. And I think a lot of times what people think is like, I think if you haven't had the luxury experiences, you think, oh, I got to go to like a 5-star hotel or I got to have like the Birkin bag and then I'll feel like I'm successful. But once you've had those experiences in life, you sometimes realize like, oh, they're like not, it's not that.
Welcome to the Real Estate Mogul MD podcast. Thanks for tuning in and taking control of your financial future. This is a show where we not only motivate and inspire, we give you actionable real-world experience to help you live life by design. You'll hear journeys and stories from other physicians, investors, coaches, consultants, and entrepreneurs. And now, here's your host, Brett Riggins. Today's guest is Dr. Shideh Shafie, a physician, real estate investor, coach, and powerhouse of perspective. From medicine to mindset to money, she shows us what living life on your own terms really looks like. Here we go.
Today I went to Costco with a friend from high school, or elementary school. She lives in Boston. I live in Rhode Island. We met at Costco. Neither of us are members, but we're very curious.
Yeah.
It's like so fun to do that on a random, I don't even know, Monday, where
Yep.
everyone else is like ragged. I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna have to like kill myself this week. No, I don't have to kill myself. I'm going to Costco for no good apparent reason.
Yeah. I often feel like that when I'm driving somewhere. Very rarely do I have to be somewhere on a scheduled time. And when I do, it's difficult and I can fall right back into that trap. But most of the time when I'm not, like people are driving by me and running up on my backside and I'm like, oh my goodness, I forget what it's like because I am so blessed. I have everything that I'm the wealthiest man in the world, and it's based on what means the most to me. I'm content, but I'm not complacent. I don't find myself, my wife helps me not find myself in these little traps where I may get locked up in that money thing because it's something that I want, right?
Yeah.
But it's like you are spot on this, and I've talked about it so many different times on the show, and maybe not even talking about it, Shideh, because in those conversations, the guest may be telling me how they're feeling. And then, I'll throw out these little one-liners or whatever, but it's so true. Being free, being able to enjoy that freedom versus having these traps. And it doesn't necessarily have to be real estate. Real estate is a wonderful mechanism, by the way. What's your favorite class in real estate? Like if I brought you a deal.
Multifamily student housing.
Family, student housing, single family?
Multifamilies and student housing.
Multifamily and student housing. And the student
I
housing would
love
be
student
single
housing.
family?
I like multifamily better, but I'll do a single family student housing too.
Interesting. And then in the
student housing is so easy.
Yeah.
You just got to find the right, it is. It is like literally on auto renewal. Like you don't have to do anything for student housing other than it requires a lot of repairs. Like the churn and burn is faster on it, but otherwise it's like,
it's location.
An
it's
ATM.
Location.
And it's an ATM. And you don't have to find a tenant. They find you. And they beg you. It's like so crazy.
Bribe you.
They're just like, I think it's really fun. And to go back to the other thing about the money trap is a lot of the clients I work with are really, really wealthy. I'm not talking like private jet wealthy, right? Like really, really wealthy. And what you realize is that wealth doesn't equal freedom. Wealth is part of free. Like you need a certain amount of money to be able to not necessarily have to show up someplace to make ends meet kind of thing. But it doesn't 100% equal freedom. Freedom is a mindset that you have to really cultivate in yourself and allow yourself freedom. And also getting really clear on what makes you feel free. And I think a lot of times what people think is I think if you haven't had the luxury experiences, you think, oh, I got to go to like a 5-star hotel or I got to have like the Birkin bag and then I'll feel like I'm successful. But once you've had those experiences in life, you sometimes realize oh, they're like not, it's not that. And then you realize a lot of times when I work with these people who are very, very wealthy, it's like what you really want is like eat dinner at home. That's like a homemade meal, which is actually like in our life, that's a much harder thing for people to get, right? Going to a fancy restaurant in some ways is a lot easier than cultivating time to have dinner at home 2 or 3 nights a week that's homemade. Like that's the real luxury nowadays.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
And for the listener out there who may be, in this position, wanting to enjoy this freedom or potentially even enjoying some of the freedom, but maybe these seeds are planting and they feel like there's something else out there. What is something like a performance habit that they could start with to help find that difference, or that difference in feeling of enjoying the freedom or understanding freedom? Or, what's one thing?
Well, one thing you can do is give yourself freedom every day. Like you can give yourself a taste of freedom every day. It doesn't need to be like people think that like freedom, like it has to be forever, but like you can get up like 20 minutes early and give yourself 10 minutes of freedom. Like go outside or have your coffee, do whatever you want. Don't go scroll on your phone, because scrolling your phone pulls you away from your own feelings, but like just experience what freedom and the luxury of free time feels like. That's one thing that I would definitely tell your listeners to do, is just like practice what it feels like to just like do something that's not necessarily useful or productive, but just free or joyful. Like just, and I mean, there's some parameters on that. I challenge you to choose something that doesn't depend on another person. Cause I think a lot of times we're looking like, oh, I'm going to go for a walk with my friend, but like allow yourself to just do it yourself first. So you can experience what that feels like. That's the first exercise I would give people to practice on their own, is like allowing themselves a taste of freedom and seeing what it will look like. And the other thing I tell people is like really start getting clear on what things actually make you happy, not things that you think should make you happy, right? Like we all go on the vacation that we think should make us happy. We go buy the thing that we think should make us happy. And then, but just check in, like, is it actually giving you that sort of release that you need? And if it's not, keep playing around with things until you find what it is, and then set metrics for yourself. Like set yourself like, I'm going to allow myself to do this many times, and then actually do it. And metrics, I love metrics. Metrics are really important parts, because people say like, I want to feel more connected to my husband or my wife or whatever it is that they want. Or I want to feel, I'm like, okay, what does that look like? What does connection? And then let's look at it. Like, let's see if we're making progress, because once we get to like that part's really important to and the metrics can be what I like to call lag indicators, which are like habits or behaviors that will lead to my end goal. Because sometimes we're looking at things as like for example, like let's say you want to buy your first investment property, like that's your goal. The goal we look at sometimes is like, do I have an investment property or not? It's a very dichotomous thing, and that's the only metric we're measuring. But that's not the way to measure it as you're building it. The way to measure it is like, for me, I was interested in learning about land investing for a while. So I was like, I'm going to analyze 4 deals every week. And that was my metric. And then so you can do that for real estate. Like I'm going to analyze the numbers for 4 deals. And when maybe you're too hesitant to buy, follow a deal. Be like, this is a deal I would want to buy. Follow it, save it on Zillow, save it on whatever you're looking at, and then follow them. See what the progress of the other person was. You can learn from just like observing in the market in that way. If like you're out there scared to invest in real estate, do that first. See like, okay, if I bought this, what would it have looked like? Then a few months later, if somebody else has bought it, listed it for rent, see what it looks like. You'll see, just continue to follow it. But give yourself the metric. Don't make the metric, do I have a real estate investment or not? Make it, am I looking at 5 deals a week? Or whatever it is, and measure that and put it in a spreadsheet so you can see, and you can even like in your little spreadsheet, I love spreadsheets, like you'll have the weekly weeks, then you'll say how many deals looked at, how many deals seemed promising, and then, and how many deals I follow up with. You can call people, and when you call people, people love giving you information. I was like sort of low key thinking of buying something in New Hampshire, and I called the real estate agent, and then I was like, well, let me call Vacasa and see what it would look like for them to like run it for me, like just goofing off doing this stuff, and it's fun. The guy ended up being a real estate investor. He told me all about the market there. I was like, oh, there's a real bad market to invest in, and he gave me so much information, and you just like learn a lot. That's so fun.
I got to know these things.
Yeah,
like your dad says, right?
Yeah, I got to know all the things. Everything's my business.
Yes, everything's my business. Wow, so much there. So intentionally giving yourself those moments of freedom, not where you're not relying on somebody else, having metrics for those moments. And it sounds like to me like creating those habits, retraining your brain, and understanding, being intentional, understanding what chemicals are being produced by the actions that you're doing. Again, another keyword there, doing. And then celebrating little wins, celebrating the little wins. If you reverse engineer a goal and, start back in the beginning, celebrating those little wins along the way helps you to be a doer as well. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, totally.
That's awesome.
And then, like, next level thing that you could do is like, I give myself 20, 20, 20, 3 20s, 20 minutes of growth, something that like I would like to learn more about. I like spend 20 minutes learning, reading, watching YouTube videos on something I want to learn about. When with land investing, I was just like 20 minutes of like learning more about land and whatever. 20 minutes of exercise every day, like minimum. I exercise a lot more than that usually, but 20 minutes minimum of that. And then 20 minutes of like self-reflection time for me. And that to me is freedom. It's like every day without fail, that 20, 20, 20 is always in my day. I always do it. That's like next, like when you start doing that, like your life is unstoppable. Like that self-reflection time, that's what we do in coaching. I'm sitting there reflecting with you and holding space for you and asking you questions that you might be nervous to ask yourself. But, and that's what vulnerability is too. Also, P.S. I beeping hate public vulnerability. Like this whole vulnerability thing that you hear all over, like you gotta be vulnerable. You don't need to be vulnerable with the world. You need to be vulnerable with yourself. Now, if you have a coach can help bring out that vulnerability, but we're scared to meet ourselves about the things that are difficult in our life. Like, like sometimes someone has a hard time in their marriage, right? They're sitting there like, they're just trying to avoid that hardness. But like when you sit with it and you look at it and you examine it, that's where the solutions come from. So that 20 minutes of self-reflection, that's vulnerability time and vulnerability with myself. And so when people are talking about vulnerability, like I do not like public vulnerability, going out there, spilling your business on the world. Not for me. And honestly, I think a lot of it is performative because when things that are really vulnerable, they feel bad. Like they don't feel good to put out there. And so that I think is like, once you do start doing that, the 20, 20, 20, I feel like that's the secret sauce of life. Like 20 minutes spent on something that, like how you want to grow, 20 minutes of exercise, movement a day, and 20 minutes of like sort of self-reflection and self-vulnerability. Super useful.
20, 20, 20. That's awesome. I love the self-reflection piece. I find myself I absolutely love the sauna. And the sauna is a way for me to disconnect with the world. I'll use like binaural beats and put the earbuds in and zone everybody and everything out. And just, there's a point in meditation and prayer. And it's almost like that's the connection to the infinite. That's the connection to the quantum. Because everything is floating around. Your brain is so amazing. It gives me goosebumps even thinking about that. So 20, 20, 20, do it. Quickly here, what's one quick story or a moment that you could share with us from one of your clients that have applied these principles, and it was easy for you to see like a huge shift in their life after applying these principles?
You want a physician client? Just because it's more fun.
Yeah.
Your physician team. We'll do a physician client. So this was a woman, recent graduate. Like she was an early grad, like she had gotten out of residency a year before, and hired me. And she had hired me for something very specific about career advice. But like, I was like, all right, we can set that goal. And we did set that goal. And I was like, but we're going to round out your goals too, right? Like, she's like, so we first worked on that, but then we added other goals. And like one of her goals was about, sorry about that. One of her goals was about, she had debt, student debt and credit card debt. And the credit card debt was like really high percentage, it was like made me like, oh, we got to fix this. And then she also had a goal, like she wasn't really like where she wanted to be physically or whatever. So we added these goals in and like literally she was like, it's going to take me a year to pay this credit card. I was like, no, we're going to chop this. And she paid it off. Like we worked together for 6 months and she paid it off in the 5th month, like completely done with a thing that she thought was going to take her a year or two to pay off. She lost like 20 pounds. Like she just your whole life changes when you put those things together. And she like has a plan of how she's going to move through her career as she builds it. And like, that's so fun to see. Or like another client was like, I'm too scared to leave my job. She moved to a job. She like makes more money, works way less, sees her kids. Like, you just got to take a little time with yourself and set metrics. The metrics are really important though. Like you have to look at the metrics for yourself because that's what keeps your brain focused.
Yeah. Consistency and resilience and consistency apply this not just this month, this quarter, this year, but that consistency over time is what then you'll look back 1 year, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, like, holy cow. It's self-reflection. If you journal in self-reflection, you can witness that stuff in a journal as well too. I was sitting at a closing today. This is the first closing that I've been to like since probably like pre-COVID. Where we're actually sitting in the room with a seller at the same time. So it was interesting. Anyway, I was watching across the table almost like a change in their life. A lot of times when you're direct to seller, either the property is distressed or the seller is distressed or both, right? And I was watching kind of like the weight come off of their shoulders because this home that they were in, it's packed full of stuff. It's dirty. And they felt that. I heard it. I see it in them. And then the situation with a family situation, they're moving out to the coast. They're moving out to the close to Myrtle Beach. And almost like the world of the weight of the world was lifting off their shoulders. And it reminded me of your story because when you change your environment or what's around you, it just like, the clouds clear. Like that debt is a cloud for so many people, and being able to attack it intentionally is so important. And then the cloud of whether it's family or your home or like all these different muscles that you talked about earlier, you've got to work on all of those, and you've got to work with somebody that could help you be vulnerable. I think that you've put it so well. I could see why you're a high performance coach. I absolutely loved talking with you today, and that's so cool to hear the stories. I could just keep talking and talking, but just to sum it up, is just like working with somebody who's trusted and experienced, and being able to see you and hear you and feel you, all of that stuff to help grow. And to help remove all of these things that clutter and get around you, because life is better. You can enjoy freedom, and it doesn't have to be in dollar signs. There's so many other muscles that don't require the dollar signs. And even in these conversations, it's putting love in one of my buckets, right? Just being able to talk about and share these experiences, and then reflect on things. Being careful who we're comparing ourselves to in those reflections. So really, really important stuff. Where in the world can the listeners find Shideh?
The easiest place is my website, which is just my name, www.shidehshafie.com, and also on LinkedIn, same name.
And how do you spell it?
S-H-I-D like dog, E-H is my first name, and my last name is S like Sarah, H like Harry, A like Apple, F like Frank, I like igloo, E like elephant.
You are good. That's awesome.
I've done that a lot over the phone.
I know, because you first look at your name, it's like, that does not look like the way that it sounds. But after I say it a few times, it's exactly right. So it's perfect. It's
a perfect name too. It means daughter of the sun, the Shideh, awesome. And Shafie means healer. So I'm like a daughter of the sun healer, which it feels like my right vibe.
Yeah, that's awesome. So much. I have no idea what my name means. I just remember my name. I've been called Brett, Brat, Brent, all of these things. But none of them, I don't believe that any of them have the true meaning. So I get to put my own meaning in my name. So
that's right. You get to leave your legacy of what Brett Riggins means.
Yes. And hopefully it puts a smile on somebody's face. Hopefully we've put a smile on the listener's face or the viewers here on YouTube, wherever you're collecting these nuggets of experience and knowledge and beauty. That's just, it's awesome. I've loved our conversation here today. Thank you so much for joining us today, Shideh.
Thank you for having me. This was so fun.
All right. Now, Shideh just dropped some serious gems on mindset, wealth building, and intentional living. Now, we're going to split this up into 2 parts. So in part 2, we dive even deeper into the freedom trap and how physicians can actually do less and live more. If you want to find out more about Shideh before the next episode is released, find her on her website. That's shidehshafie.com. It's in the description, SHIDEHSHAFIE.com. Sound like a robot reading that off. It's in the show description, shidehshafie.com. You can find her on LinkedIn as well, too. Until next time, this is the Real Estate Mogul, MD.